19th. Oh my goodness, man. We're inching closer and closer to Halloween. It is the spooky season, and I feel like people are more festive this year. I think, coming out of the pandemic, people are starting to loosen back up, get back to normal, and get more excited for the holidays because
Yeah.
I don't know. Last year, I just felt like people weren't as festive as they were in years past.
I would agree with that. I'm seeing a lot more decorations, a lot more stuff out and about. People seem to be in a better mood this year around. It got a little cooler quicker, at least here. So I think just people are rolling into the holiday, bro. You know, once that cool weather hits and everything starts, you're like, it's holiday time. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Autumn is always my favorite time of year. It's like if I could get this weather year round with just a couple of weeks of snow for Christmas, I'd be living the dream, bro. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love this weather.
Oh yeah, I mean it's fantastic. I think I prefer like low mid 60s. I think
Yeah.
that's the perfect spot for me to be
Daytime
honest.
and then like real cold at night, right? Like 30s, 40s at night. And I love that. If it was like that all year, and then like I said, just a little bit of snow, below freezing, and then a little bit of snow for a white Christmas, bam, perfect year. Let's get on that, Mother Nature.
I know, right? Exactly. But man, oh man, we have a whole bunch to talk to you about on this episode of ITCAF Podcast. Man, oh man, we're going to talking about Superman's new photo with his beloved dog, Krypto.
Yes.
We're super excited about that. And Disney has a lawsuit that just will not go away. We reported on this like 3 years ago,
Yeah.
It feels like. I mean, when Disney Plus first launched, well, it was around season 2 of Mandalorian, I would say. That's probably when things started getting a little hectic. But we're going to be talking all about Spider-Man 4. Zendaya, Tom Holland, read the script. What do they think? And a couple of other things. Do we want to see Prince Charming in real life? That is the question. But all that and more is on this episode of ITCAF Podcast, and that starts right now. Hello, everyone. So you want to start a podcast but have no idea where to start? Well, Crazy Ant Media is here to help you. We want to assist you finding your VFE. What's VFE, you ask? Well, that is your voice, your format, and your equipment. These are the 3 biggest essentials you need to start your podcast. All those hours watching nonstop YouTube videos or all those random website links, those are done. Just hop on a Zoom call with us and we'll talk about everything you need to know to create your own podcast and find your voice. Plus, we will send you home with a 12-page packet over everything we just discussed. It's very in-depth. It is definitely a must-need while trying to start your first podcast. Contact us at info@crazyantmedia.com today so that you can start finding your podcast voice for tomorrow. What's up, guys? Oh my goodness, episode 274 of ITCAF Podcast. And you guys know your host with the most, myself, J-Lo Fantastic, and the one and only Mal.
What's up?
Yes, guys. Oh, we're so super excited to be back. This is our element. This is what we love to do. We love to talk about entertainment news because we have some strong opinions about things. And man, oh man, they sometimes go against the grain, and that's the fun part, man.
Yes.
That really is the fun part. But before diving into episode 274 of ITCAF Podcast, be sure to leave a rating on this podcast, comment below, and tell us what you actually think about this show. Because if you didn't know, leaving a rating on this podcast actually helps it get seen by more people who enjoy entertainment news, but especially those who are trying to break into the entertainment industry. Us here at Crazy Ant Media are all about helping the up-and-comers trying to break into the entertainment industry so that they can carry themselves when they're at social gatherings like big wig Hollywood events, because man, oh man, if you stumble and fumble, that might be your last chance with a particular person in a studio. So we want to make sure you're ready to go. And we're super excited about everything that's going down. But before we jump into everything, of course, be sure to head over to our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. We got the shirts, we got the hats, we got a little bit of everything for a little bit of everyone. Right now is 20% off, am I right?
That is correct. Everything. If you're listening to it on the weekend we release this thing and not down the line, it's 20% off on everything I think through Wednesday or Thursday. So just head on over there. That's a great deal, y'all. I don't know if you realize, but 20% off by the time you get it all said and done, man, you see a nice discount. That is and our prices are low to begin with, but then you get an additional 20% off, man. There is no reason why you can't go out and get you several Crazy Ant hoodies for the fall season. We just talked about the weather. It's time to suit up, people.
That's right. That's right. I just saw our chief marketing officer, Delana, just got a brand new hoodie, a brand new shirt, and a brand new tote bag. So
yeah.
Like I said,
And an apron, right?
And an apron.
Yeah.
And an apron, man, because she loves to cook. So like I said, we got a little bit of something for a little bit of everyone. But we want to start off with some somber news and talk a little bit more about the dark side of Hollywood, because we want to get out of the darkness and go towards the light.
We do.
This past week, Liam Payne, best known from One Direction, he also was a solo artist. He died at the age of 31, and more stuff is coming out every single day. I'm sure more things will come out after this recording drops. But what we know right now is that he was dealing with a lot of mental health issues, and he was dealing with a lot of substance abuse problems as well. I was watching a lot of Daily Mail stuff today on social media, and they were disclosing that he may or may not have been dropped by his record label recently. And I know he's got a couple of other allegations or charges against him between him and his wife, him or his ex-wife. I don't know what their situation is. But yeah, man, it's always so crazy because it's always the ones who get started early. The ones who get started early always seem to go darker and darker down the rabbit hole that is like drugs, alcohol, mental health issues. Because, we have people like Drew Barrymore, Demi Lovato, and so many others that started so young and talked about their struggles that they had in the industry and all the vices that they were introduced to at such a young age. So, I mean, this is a really sad story because, I mean, as such a talented individual as himself, I mean, especially with people who were in One Direction with him, I know they are feeling the massive effects of this because, I mean, you spend so long with these people, and then this happens. It's a tragedy, man. It really is.
It is. And Simon Cowell also, I mean, who clearly his comments, you get the feeling that he just really felt like this was a son to him, that type of a relationship. But I just want to talk a minute too about the irresponsibility of the press. Because we've worked in the industry, okay? We've worked on both sides of it, on the entertainment side of it and in the news side of it prior to getting into the entertainment industry. And it is completely irresponsible to run with stories, whether they're true or not, within moments after someone's death. Okay, you have to think about the impact that you are having on the people close to them. It's irresponsible. It's wrong. There's a time and place for it, and it's not right after the death. There has to be a mourning period. There has to be a period to let it sink in for people to process what's going on and for you to run with stories. I mean, for Christ's sake, TMZ posted the picture of him. Irresponsible, reckless, and just plain, I don't even have words for it. They apologized, but sorry, too little, too late. That was reckless and stupid. There's now stuff coming out that he was with prostitutes prior to the death, that all this kind of stuff. If that's true or not, nobody needs to know that right now. Nobody needs to know that right now. This is a young father whose ex-girlfriend and mother of the child are dealing with the fact that they are never going to see the baby's father again. Ever. They're having to process and deal with that, whatever ground their relationship was on. Like you said, there's rumors that there might have been some stuff between the two of them, and he was currently dating somebody new, I guess an influencer named Kate Cassidy, and apparently there's rumors that she left him right before this happened, and that's why he was with the prostitutes. We don't know if any of that is true or not true or whatever. My point is none of that matters in a situation like this. What we should be talking about is why he got to the situation that he was in. Why this happened. We can say that according to the official autopsy and report, it appears to have either been accidental or a suicide. They've ruled out any foul play. There was no defensive wounds. There was no indication or sign that he was fighting for his life. And based on witnesses and stuff like, they've ruled out any sort of foul play. So it appears to either have been accidental and or a suicide. I'm not going to make a decision either way there. I have a belief that it was one of those two. Which way I think it was, and that's why I want to emphasize the mental health aspect of it. This young man had made no secret of it in the past. He had talked about his battles with mental health and depression. He had talked about his battles with drug addiction and alcohol. And there were moments. I remember a heated exchange back in the day where he was basically losing respect from his bandmates. This is after they disbanded and had gone on. And he was saying the whole thing was formed around him. He was One Direction. He's the most successful solo artist out of there. Forget everybody else. The only reason they would come back is to be back with him. And he had eventually apologized for all of that. But that is at a time when he was going through some stuff. And that goes to what you were talking about with the dark side. I think when you start so young, if you don't have the right support system around you and the right people around you, that fame, that fortune can start to corrupt you. It can start to get to you, and it starts to build the ego. And I feel like that's where so many of them start to go down that dark path and that wrong path, and it starts to just eat away at them. And sometimes I feel like the only escape they feel like they have is the drug and alcohol addiction. And I wish the conversation would, first of all, these first few days, I wish the conversation would just be nothing but remembering and mourning him. But then I wish the conversation after that would be, how did we miss this? What could have we done better? How could have we prevented this? Not all this other garbage about what was and was not going on. There's a time and place for that well down the line. We don't need that. I think we do that too often when a celebrity passes or when somebody famous passes, is we jump on the negative and about all the stuff that was wrong instead of remembering all the great stuff and right stuff about these people. And that's the key, right? We talk about humanity all the time. Let's just remember these are human beings with families. He was a son and a father and like, how would you feel if your kid saw your dead body picture on the ground and being talked about in the negative way that he's being talked about right now? I just, do better, people. Do better. That's all I'm saying. And our thoughts and prayers are with everybody involved in the family and friends. It's tragic anytime it's this young. And man, yeah, it's tough. It's tough, especially having you and my daughter and people I know in my life around that same age. And you know, and it, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's really difficult, but you know, like I said, thoughts and prayers go out to everybody involved in the situation, everybody who's his family, friends, all that. Yeah, because it's really hard, and I mean, it's one of those things that you can never really recover from. But transitioning, I don't even know a better
How
way
we
to
transition.
Yeah, so transitioning, Disney is trying to come away from something. They're trying to come away from Gina Carano. Remember, she was the big badass that was on Mandalorian season 1 and 2, I believe.
Yep.
She had a bigger role in season 2. If you remember, she got fired because of some discrimination against, or some tweets that came off a little off color, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And Disney has been trying to kind of push this away because she is suing. She's suing for a wrongful termination against the company. And now Disney loses the last attempt to stall this trial over the Mandalorian firing. She's coming at the case from a sex discrimination standpoint, and this will go to jury next year, I believe, beginning first quarter next year. So this is very interesting. This is going to be a big case because, you know, that time period was so interesting, and it was so heavily, I would say, it was so heavily political. You know, I feel like the last 3 years, where I feel like we're kind of coming out of it now, going into this election, it's not as bad as it was. But the last 3 years, honestly, the last 2 presidential terms, let's just put it that way. The last 2 8-year presidential terms,
Yeah.
I feel like it's been very divided when it comes to politics. And this was during that time. And if you voiced a different opinion that wasn't with a certain agenda on each side, because we know that Disney was very heavily on leaning on one side, it's a very sticky situation. So this is going to be an interesting one to keep following and see where that ends up. I mean, not we like the law and we like to keep up with these type of things. So it's kind of interesting to be like, I'm excited for this trial, but I'm interested to see what a jury of peers is going to say about this specific situation.
Oh, without doubt, because we talk about it all the time, right? About when should a company make a statement politically and when should they not? When should they get behind a movement or a candidate and when should they not? And this is going to have huge ramifications moving forward with however this plays out. We should clarify that when we say sex discrimination, it has nothing to do with sexual. She is claiming that she was wrongfully terminated because she was a woman. And like you said, what happened is she fired off some tweets where she was comparing the persecution of conservatives, because she's a conservative, the persecution of conservatives, she equaled that to the annihilation of Jews during the Holocaust. Well, that didn't go very well. Disney did not like that. Disney said, that's not even a fair comparison. You are insane. We're going to have to let you go for that. She's claiming sex discrimination because some guys also affiliated with Disney, including Pedro, also made political statements that were taken upon in the wrong way by some people, and nothing happened to them. They weren't fired. So she is basing it on, you let me go completely because I'm a woman, otherwise you would have fired the men for making similar statements. So, and apparently this judge reviewed all of that in this latest, attempt to get it squashed, and he agreed with her that it needs to go forward. This is worth investigating and worth seeing. So, look, should have she said those things? Probably not. But in this country, you do have freedom of speech. However, Disney also has the right to fire you if they want to. And my belief is that, at least what I read from Disney, it was causing problems on set. And it was becoming a problem, which rightfully so. I mean, if Pedro and her are coming at each other with opposite things and it's causing friction on set, I feel like something had to be done, and you're not firing the star. So, I mean, I don't know. Is there a right answer or a wrong answer there? I don't know, but I do believe this is a fair thing going forward. I think it has to be adjudicated and a decision has to be made. My personal belief is what I think is going to happen is she will win and get some sort of compensation. They'll pay her for back pay of what she would have made had she been on the show and done what she was supposed to do, kind of a thing. That's my guess as to, they're not going to put her back on the show. I don't think they're going to rehire her, but I think it'll be like a CBS thing with Alicia Dooku, where they paid her back compensation, gave her a big chunk of money for back compensation, is how I think it's going to play out. But we'll keep an eye on it. Like you said, we love the law, and we love not just the in front of the camera kind of stuff in our industry, but behind the camera and business and what it means moving forward. So, speaking of moving forward, we all know Spider-Man 4 is coming, right? We're all super excited about it. And this is what I love too. Apparently Tom Holland, because he can't keep secrets worth anything, right? Although kudos to him, I saw today that he's known about Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Dr. Doom for apparently quite some time and never let it leak. He was proud of himself. He said, that's the hardest secret I've ever had to keep, and I didn't blow it. So good for you, Tom. But anyway, him and Zendaya have apparently read the Spider-Man 4 script, and he said at points he was moved to tears and that it's excellent. Here's where it gets tricky. Then he said, but it needs some work still. And again, with the irresponsibility of the press, they ran with the headlines that Tom Holland says Spider-Man 4 script needs work. It's not great. That is not at all what he said. He said it was excellent, it moved him to tears, and that the writers are doing a great job. It needs a little work. And then he clarified what he meant by it needs a little work. And he went into this big detailed explanation about how all these solo movie scripts have to fit into the MCU's overall plan because they play a role in the grand scope of the story that leads up. And that's where he said it still needs a little work. They were trying to polish how it fits to this movie and to that movie and to this storyline. That's all he meant. He didn't mean it was horrible and he didn't like it and they needed to start over or they needed to tear up this story. The work that it needed is they're trying to figure out how to make it fit in the overall big story of the MCU timeline. You can't just run with irresponsible things like Tom says it's horrible, it needs work. No, read the whole context of it. Like, that's all I'm saying. And anyway, I'm super excited about this. And by the way, can I just say relationship goals? I love that him and Zendaya are just sitting around the house, drinking coffee or whatever, reading the script, probably talking about it, laughing, having a good time. I love that. But I'm excited about this. This gets me really excited about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, these are the future of Hollywood. I mean, it's so evident, especially Zendaya. So I just feel like, yeah, people don't understand, especially the average reader, the average person. They don't understand how many revisions go into a final script, whether that be on a film set or on a television set. It could literally be not done until the day of filming, and then it gets reworked again while filming. So I mean, the process of filmmaking and making television and content, like, it is so crazy because it's a ever evolving door that you're just trying to figure out what's the best exit to go out of. It's so crazy because, yeah, you are looking at the media who is just looking for something that is very, attention grabbing,
Clickbait.
That'll clickbait, yeah, that'll pop up and that people can hop on and tweet about, and all the garbageness that is the world right now. But yeah, I'm very excited about it because Spider-Man is my new favorite character after Iron Man passed, and Shang-Chi. So those are the two movies that I'm most looking forward to coming out of Marvel.
And I just want to emphasize what he said about the difficulty for the screenwriters in the Marvel Universe. And the example that I keep coming back to is when they were working on Captain America, the First Avenger, right? At some point they were told, hey, listen, 8 years from now, there's going to be a TV series called Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and there's going to be a museum dedicated to Steve Rogers because he's no longer going to be Captain America. You have to figure out a way to put a scene in this movie that will be a photograph in that show 8 years from now. Right. That's the type of thinking that they have to deal with. They are not only working on the current script that's going to be taking place right now, but they're trying to pepper things in those scripts that lay out 5-10 years from now. Oh, yeah, it's hard. Of course it needs work. I mean, that is a lot of forward thinking. And when you're focused on your story right now and you're like, oh, that's not going to work because you see 5 years from now we were planning this. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, so kudos to them. I mean, I wouldn't want to even try to be a writer in the MCU. I know how hard it is just to write something. So then to have to figure out all of that, God bless. But yeah, I love this. I love this whole story. It's just great.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, plus we know the symbiote is coming, so I'm sure
Yes.
that plays into a lot of that because I mean, some leak stuff. I mean, there's always these fake Marvel news accounts, so you can only take it with a grain of salt. But some stuff that I saw online was, he's going to be a bad guy, and the Avengers Doom movie. So yeah, I'm very excited to see that progression forward because Tom Holland seems like one of the sweetest people ever. So it's going to be very exciting.
I will say this, if that's true, look out. The fandom is going to lose their shit because that's not how it went down. When he first got the black costume, he didn't even know it was a symbiote. That's just his new costume and he could do
Right.
some cool new shit. He had no idea it was an alien symbiote at first. He didn't know why he could control it mentally. He had no idea, right? And he certainly didn't become a bad guy. He didn't become Venom or any kind of bad. So if that is indeed a true storyline, you know how people are. They're going to lose their
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
That's not how it happens. He didn't. Shut the fuck up.
Right. Exactly.
I do hope we see when he gets the symbiote, though, it has the big white spider on it like it does when he... Because you remember in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, when he got the black suit, it was just the regular suit. It didn't have the...
Yeah.
I want to see that suit. And Marvel's been so good at doing comic book accurate suits. So that would be... Oh, my God, that'd be so... If I could get that... And the scene where Hulk is holding up the mountain to save everybody from Secret Wars. Those two things in cinematic glory, I think I'd shit. I'd just be like, yes!
That is so freaking funny. Well, speaking of funny, Disney and ABC, they are preparing to facilitate a big crossover event. We know ABC loves their crossover events. The cast of FXX's The Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and of course ABC's Abbott Elementary, fully united for the first time in a photo from the set of their upcoming crossover. Now, we don't know any plot details about this, but when I first saw this story, I was like, these shows are so different in the comedy realm. So
Yeah.
I was just, Abbott Elementary is a little bit more family friendly, and Always Sunny in Philadelphia is this long running kind of more adult humor, adolescent humor type of thing. So I'm very curious to see what's gonna happen because I mean, amazing talent on
yeah.
both sets. So to see that crossover, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it's going in its 17th season. I mean, it's a huge hit. People love it. It's like a cult thing. And obviously, Abbott Elementary has been huge for ABC. The rumor I'm hearing is that it's going to have something to do with voting. Because they're both set in Philadelphia, and maybe it's something to do about, I'm guessing, teaching the elementary schools about civics and how this is a voting system. Because Philadelphia is going through a gentrification of zoning of like, the rumors are that it has something to do with that sort of a storyline, and that's how it's going to cross over. Because if for anybody who doesn't know, both shows are set in Philadelphia. So I don't know, but I'm excited about it because I love both these shows, and I think it's going to be amazing, right? So I mean, I'm all in on this. I'm also on this next one, even though we don't really know anything about it. Dan Fogelman, you know him, you love him, of course. This Is Us. That's the biggie, but I like him because little people know he was also the screenwriter for Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Yeah, it's true. So anyway, he's apparently in development on this, and who doesn't love this? A family drama set in the NFL, in the world of the NFL. It's going to be set up at Hulu, and that's all we know. We don't know what within the NFL is it going to be a family drama about somebody that's a player in the NFL? My guess is it's going to be an ownership of an NFL team, because I did see a leak that says the one thing that's been confirmed is about the family is generational. It said it will be generational. So I'm assuming maybe it's owners of an NFL team, and we're viewing the family that's the owners of an NFL team. Either way, I think this is going to be badass. I mean, you've seen the explosion of the popularity of NFL across the world, right? And we know Fogelman can do family dramas. So, and there's plenty of family drama in the NFL. Look at the Benson family, the Jones family, whatever. There's plenty of family drama in the NFL. So I'm real curious to see where this goes, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's funny you say the ownership thing, because I was actually thinking of like a quarterback thing. Well, honestly, because Peyton Manning has been popping up a lot in my feed recently, and especially his retirement speech popped up today. And it was talking about, going over every game with his dad, and his dad being, the epic quarterback that he was. So I'm, either which way, I'm very excited about it, because we've talked about before on the show that, there's not a lot of the sports dramas, sports movies anymore. Like we don't see a lot of that. So I'm very excited for that. And I mean, of course, Dan Fogelman has a lot of other things he's working on too
Yeah.
with Hulu. Specifically his upcoming series Paradise, which is starring Sterling K. Brown
Yep.
and James Marsden. And then of course he is also a part of Only Murders in the Building. So he's got a pretty good relationship over there at Hulu and Disney. So I think that's going to be a great relationship moving forward. I think only the best is going to come out of this. I think it could be a long running potential series that we could see coming from him. And he's kind of turning into the Greg Berlanti of family dramas. Am I right? I mean, I feel like everything that he puts his hands on recently is a hit.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny because he had sporadic hits here or there prior to This Is Us. But
Yeah.
since This Is Us, he's just exploded onto the scene. And that's very much like Greg Berlanti. It was a hit there, a miss there, a hit, like a No Ordinary Family was just too early, right? It missed because it was a little too early. Then he launched the Arrowverse, which was basically No Ordinary Family, like superheroes, and boom, the rest was history. I feel like Fogelman, that's a good point that you bring up. I feel like Fogelman is following those steps. Hit or miss, boom, This Is Us, and now everything's been golden since then. And but he's such a talented guy, so I mean, good for him, man. Good for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, Disney is going back to its roots. We know we've been seeing this for the past, I don't know. Is it getting kind of close to a decade now that they've been remaking live action movies? I mean, when did freaking
I think maybe even longer than that, right? Like
that's insane. I mean, it doesn't feel that long, but like Beauty and the Beast, like I feel like came out a while ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that might have been the first one, that one or Jungle Book. Because I know Jon Favreau did Jungle Book as well. So yeah, but anyway, they've been doing this for a long time and they're continuing to, but kind of just in a different way. Well, we don't really know if it's going to be live action yet, but they're bringing a new perspective on an intricate part of a beloved story. I should say that Prince Charming from Cinderella is going to be getting his own film, and we're talking with Paul King potentially able to direct this thing. Now, if you guys don't know who Paul King is, he is a well-renowned director that recently directed Wonka, Paddington, The Mighty Boosh, and of course the other Paddington Bear too. So I mean, he's done a lot of these family-friendly type of films and series that are I would feel like mainstream successful because even if you don't like the Wonka movie, like we did not, but I mean commercially it was pretty successful. But this is very interesting though because Prince Charming, like, are we gonna be getting Prince Charming before he meets Cinderella, which would be very freaking interesting. While many have linked him to classic animated pics like Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, and his true origin is in Cinderella. Damn, this man's getting around.
Yeah, no, he's a player. He's a player.
Yeah, I thought they were different guys.
No. Don't hate the player, bro. Hate the game.
Bro, what if the movie is freaking him bouncing from girl to girl?
It's like an American Gigolo type film, right?
Bro, that is wild with Disney princesses. That is so freaking crazy.
It's gonna have to go under the Touchstone label. We ain't putting that under the mouse label.
For real. But I mean, I don't know. Prince Charming. I feel like you can't reach for a guy that's like successful in his 40s, right? You're gonna need to reach for like I think a Glenn Powell would be a good Prince.
Oh my
Charming.
God, that would be interesting.
He's freaking huge right now. The ladies love him. Because I don't know if you could go as young as Timothy Chalamet and Tom Holland. I think that would be too young.
No.
But yeah, I mean, who would you think would make a great Prince Charming?
I don't know. I think you're in the right realm. I think a Glenn Powell, a Ryan Gosling, somewhere in that realm, Gosling. Right? Ryan Gosling would probably be a really good. Gyllenhaal comes across a little too. I don't know. Right. But Gosling, I could see Gosling. From transitioning from Ken to Prince Charming, that works for me. Yeah. I think that would be pretty good. And I'm going to be honest with you. Now, they have said that there's no confirmation yet whether this will be an animated film or a live action film. We don't know yet, but we're assuming live action. But there's been no confirmation on that. I'm going to say I think this is happening because of the success of Enchanted. Remember, Dempsey is Prince
Yeah,
Charming in the Enchanted movies, and
it
I think
is.
that they see there's a realization and a chance there that a live action version of actual Prince Charming and not Dempsey's version of it in Enchanted would work. So
Right.
I think the success of the Enchanted movies is probably why this is even getting a green light. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think, yeah, I mean, I just like original content. Anytime you take a chance, right? This is definitely going to be a chance. I don't think it'll be the adult version we think it would be, which although it would be fucking great.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, I think it's a chance and go for it, right? Because it's so much better than a reboot or a remake or a revisualization or whatever the case may be. So I'm
Right.
all in on this, man. I
For sure.
I really am. Okay. Now for the most stupid news of the week. The most ridiculous, like, this goes back to the fandom that I was talking about, okay? The first official picture. Now, we've known this for a while. I think we've been reporting on this for at least a year when they first started talking about this Superman movie even being greenlit. It was almost immediately announced that Krypto would be in it. Well, we got the first official picture of Krypto the Superdog next to his guy, Superman, on the moon, looking out over at Earth. And instead of anybody focusing on how badass the picture was, because it was a really cool picture, right? I've got it on my phone as my wallpaper. It's badass. No. All we focus on is that it's not the right Krypto. Krypto's not a mutt. That's a scraggly dog. That's a scruffy dog. That's not Krypto is a full breed, and he's buff and he's muscular and he's not a mutt and scruffy. I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Is this what we're going to argue about whether Krypto should be a mutt or a full breed and whether he should be scruffy or clean? What? I just, and then even more so why I think this is ridiculous, because Gunn even posted the explanation for it. He based his version of Krypto on his dog, his beloved dog. They apparently got a new dog recently, not too recent, but somewhat recently. It was a rescue dog. I guess from what I'm understanding, never had really been around people and was nervous and and they acclimated him in, and now he's just a part of the family. And you see Gunn post pictures of him all the time on set, and it's a really important family member in Gunn's life, so it only makes sense that he would base the dog on his dog, a beloved character in his life, and you're gonna attack him for that? It's lunacy, bro. Like, why can't Krypto be a mutt? Why? They didn't have scruff dogs on Krypton? They all were full breed masculine. Like, I mean, come on, man. This is stupid to me. Just enjoy the movie. He looks like an adorable dog, even from behind. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? I think it's fucking stupid. To argue over something so small and insignificant just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I completely agree because I mean, let's be honest about it. It's really hard nowadays to even find a full breed dog.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, all dogs are mutts. Let's be freaking honest about it. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to be mad about a dog choice when, there's only so many very highly trained dogs that will be in films that are specifically movie dogs. But I mean, what if this dog, like, he fit the criteria kind of, and he was the best boyo. So, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, you're going to want to have that dog on set instead of like the dog that accurately fits the comic book, but like isn't the best trained or isn't the best well behaved. Again, it goes back to superhero fans and comic book fans and really all massive fandoms, not even specifically comic book superhero, all massive fandoms just hardcore nitpick like crazy
Everything,
to the
yeah.
point where you're just like, I'm going to be honest about it. I'm not a casual fan, but I'm not like a hardcore fan, I guess you would say. Not like comic book fan, I should say. I'm a hardcore fan, but not comic book fan, I guess you could say. And I'm like, sometimes when I see that stuff, it makes the film less enjoyable. I'm not even gonna lie about it because it's just like there's always going to be the nitpicks where you're just like, okay, here we go. I can't post about how much I love this film because somebody's going to be like, well, in edition 278 of Superman and Krypto, he was wearing this and Krypto looked like that. His collar shade was this magenta. Like, I just absolutely ridiculous. So, I mean, quit ruining it for the rest of us. It's not that big of a deal.
No.
This dog looks freaking adorable. So
Exactly.
let's just enjoy the freaking movie because the movie is what is important. We got to see if this is actually going to kick off the DCU the way we want it to.
Yeah, and who hates on a rescue pup? Who hates on a rescue pup? By the way, guys, I'm just going to throw this out there and come at me. Superman's a rescue pup.
Yeah.
Superman himself is a rescue pup. The Kents
Literally.
took him in. He was an abandoned kid. He was like a guy. He's a rescue pup. It only makes sense that he would have a rescue pup as a dog. Like, I don't even know, man. And I love the symbol. All you haters on the symbol too. I fucking love the symbol. Oh, and can I just say before we move on, the one pet peeve that you just brought up that drives, it's when they do it in the theater. When I've got some jackass sitting behind me referencing comic books of why what I'm watching is wrong. I just want to turn around and punch them in the fucking face. Shut up! Just like, I collect comic books. I've been a comic book collector my whole life. I know what really happens in the comic books, and I don't give a fuck if it's different on the screen. I don't know, man. I love it. I love it. I like the back and forth debate. I love that people have opinions, but sometimes you just gotta let shit go, bro. You just gotta let shit go.
Yeah, that is for sure. That is for sure. But I mean, the real question is, has society and today's generation of children let go of the Looney Tunes? Because Warner Brothers Discovery is going to be releasing a new Looney Tunes movie titled The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. And that is set for a winter of 2025 theatrical release date. And I actually just saw an article on IMDb that they're talking about this potentially being an Oscar contender.
Yeah.
Like, this thing just got announced yesterday, I saw, or yesterday or 2 days ago. Like, and people are already talking about it. But my worry is, I think we haven't had any like real Looney Tunes content in so long. So like, will it even resonate with children nowadays? Because that's the audience. That is the audience. And Warner Brothers Discovery does a really bad job at targeting at that audience when they used to be known for that and a competitor with Disney in the family friendly space. But they're not anymore because they're too busy trying to catch up with Marvel, and DC is too busy trying to catch up with Marvel. So they focus so heavily on that and their dark, gritty dramas, which we love, by the way. No shade, no hate on that. But they don't focus enough on their family-friendly content. And I'm worried that this is not going to be a commercial success, even though it's probably going to be freaking good.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, it's a completely valid point. In fact, not only do they not focus on it enough, they're trying to erase it. I mean, they're getting rid of Boomerang. They're getting rid of Cartoon Network. They're getting rid of all the places where they would promote the Looney Tunes or show them. So, yeah, it's like they forget that Warner Brothers at a certain point was struggling as well, and the bunny saved them. It didn't launch them like the mouse launched Disney, but it certainly saved them through a stretch where those animated little short films were the things saving the studio at a certain point. And Bugs Bunny was extremely important back then. And Looney Tunes in the history, it was historical in the sense that it took on, controversial topics like slavery and like the wars and like sexism. And, you go back and you watch some of those early Looney Tunes films, they are very adult oriented and very, today you wouldn't even be able to show it because of sexual harassment and when the eyes pop out and they're whistling at the cat's ass and like, you can't even get away with that now, but it was very back then. But yeah, they're like historically, they are huge things. I hope it does well. I don't know. I hope, because I saw the storyline and it's Daffy Duck and Porky Pig teaming up to fight off an alien invasion coming to Earth, right? Like, that just sounds like it's gonna be fun, right? I can't imagine the saviors of Earth are Daffy and Porky, and it screams that Marvin the Martian. I don't know if it's gonna be the Martians invading, but you gotta have Marvin the Martian with his space modulator. I mean, there's so much positive that this movie could be, so I'm really hoping that it's something awesome. You know what I mean? Because I am a fan of the Looney Tunes, and I hope that. Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. I just hope it's a success. But under Zaslav, he did cancel the Acme one. Remember Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote with John Cena? That didn't even see the light of day, and that's a Looney Tunes. So I don't know.
People say that one was really good.
Exactly.
So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, I mean, NBC Universal has some interesting stuff going on too right now, right? With the Wicked poster and Cynthia Erivo.
Oh yeah, this goes right back to what we were talking about fandom, and in this case, overstepping. So you guys have seen they released the first official poster for Wicked, and it's a great little with the Wicked Witch and Glinda, and they're like face to face, and Glinda's kind of like sort of kissing her right up on her, and then they've got the Wicked Witch, and she's like, oh, who is this? Kind of. Well, apparently some fan thought that it was a misrepresentation on how it's supposed to be. So they made a fan edit of this poster, and they bring down the hat into a very brooding, shadow-esque. They hide her eyes. They take the red off of her or the green off of her lips and put it bright red, like an evil bright red kind of a thing. And just a total misrepresentation. Anybody who understands the story of Wicked, this is prior to her becoming Wicked. This is why she becomes Wicked. So to say it's a misrepresentation and immediately turn her into, well, Cynthia was fucking pissed. She said it's hurtful and shameful and it's derogatory towards my race. You're somehow implying that I'm not good enough. My face shouldn't be seen. This is when fandom gets ugly. It's one thing to make a fan poster. That's cool. I see a lot of really cool fan posters, right? Edits and stuff. But when you take the actual poster and you manipulate it into a way that's a misrepresentation of what the film is supposed to be, that's just too far. You've gone too far. And good for her for speaking out. Because a lot of people would have just let it go and not even said anything. And she was hurt, and she let people know she was hurt by it. And I'm all for that. Like, speak your mind, Cynthia. I think it was disgraceful too. And there's no need for that. That's just somebody who you can't even claim it was a fan, edit poster, because it's clearly not a fan because he doesn't even know what the story's about. Like, I mean, right? Like, if you're trying to say, no, she's supposed to be wicked and mean, then you don't even know what the premise of the story is. So yeah.
Again, people are able to do things now because we have so many tools to our advantage, to where like they do things to where they don't even consider other people's feelings or things like that. So it's very annoying. It's a lot, but yeah, kudos to her for, supporting herself and defending herself and being on top of it, because people are assholes, and so to be able to do that on her platform is freaking the best. But another best is Michael Keaton. He is coming back to SNL this weekend, and he's going to be hosting, of course, but he also has musical guest Billie Eilish coming on as well. Now, this makes the fourth time for both of them, which is pretty freaking cool. Now, I don't know, and maybe you do. Is he coming back on because he has something coming out?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in movies coming out this week. He's got a brand new movie where he's like he's a dad with a really young child, but he's got an older child too that's like 20-something years difference in the ages.
Oh, wow.
And apparently I think it's called Goodrich. He was a non-present father in her life, but now he's all in on the new kid's life. And she's kind of resentful about that. But then he has something happen to where he has to ask her help to take care of them. And she's like, well, nobody took care of you. You weren't present, kind of a thing. But it becomes a whole family bonding thing about how they mend their relationship, kind of a thing. It's Mia Kunis who plays the daughter, the older daughter. So, but yeah, I'm assuming that's why. I'm just excited about this because, I've talked about this, but I love the resurgence that we're seeing with Michael Keaton. I love it.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, and look, for all you people trying to get into the industry, I think this is a really important story to look at because Michael Keaton came in and it was a rough start, and then he hit a patch where he was the go-to guy, and everything he was doing was a hit. And you had Batman and Beetlejuice and all these things, right? And then, like anybody who makes it to the top and you're the pinnacle of the box office, it goes away, right? And he struggled. There was a couple of misses after miss after miss, and then all of a sudden nobody wanted him. But Keaton understood, much like Gene Hackman before him, that you can't always be the leading guy. You're not always going to be the star. And he settled into the secondary roles. He started taking small bit parts. He started taking small supporting roles and stayed relevant over that period. You didn't see him a whole lot. He wasn't always, but he was there and he rebuilt, and now he's back on top. He understood that if you just understand where your place is, your career can thrive. And this is a man who understood where his place was and how to continue that to get back to where we're seeing him now with this huge resurgence. So anybody out there who thinks I can't drop to a lesser role, they're too minimal, I can't do this, I can't do... Oh, no. Yes, you can. That's how you extend your career because you're never on top forever. And when you fall from the top, if you are not willing to go to the middle, well, then you're done. So, Michael Keaton is a prime example of how to do it right. And I've been a fan ever since he first popped on the scene because I'm old. But I love it. I love it. I couldn't be more happy for him. He's just killing it late in life and he's just doing it right. And yeah, I'm thrilled for him, man. And I can't wait to see him on Saturday Night Live. This season, the 50th season, has been pretty stellar so far. I'm not going to lie. It's only 2 or 3 episodes in, but it's been killer. And I can't wait to see this one.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see a big reunion episode for this mile marker, man. It's really best of both worlds with 50th season and also an election year.
Oh yeah,
because SNL does so well in election years. So I love to see that, and yeah, I'm sure he'll kill it. Definitely gonna check that episode out. I'm super excited about it. Well, we're heading over to Lionsgate where they're doing something interesting, and I think this specifically. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't have a lot of skin in the game, but I'm betting this falls in the category of don't touch it, don't remake
Correct.
it. There's no reason to, because this is a film that was so beloved and so portrayed in such a way that was different and gritty and wild. Luca Guadagnino is in talks to direct the new American Psycho film at Lionsgate with the script by Scott G. Burns. Now, thoughts, opinions, comments, concerns, all of the things. Why are we doing this? Why?
We shouldn't do it. It is an untouchable movie. They don't do... Now, they have come out... See, this is how I know they know it's an untouchable movie. Because they immediately came out and said, this is not a sequel, this is not a remake, this is not a reboot, this is a completely new interpretation of the novel that the movie is based on. I don't give a fuck. It's still not going to work, and it shouldn't be touched. This is a cult classic that was very quiet on the radar that all of a sudden got seen and blew up into this massive cult classic that everybody knows and everybody loves. Christian Bale was successful. He was having a nice little... But this movie catapulted him. This was like, oh shit, this guy... And it has Reese Witherspoon in it. A lot of people don't even realize that Reese Witherspoon is even in this movie. But it's basically, guys, the era of the yuppies, the 80s, right? And this is your full-on classic hardcore yuppie who happens to be a fucking serial killer. And he's it's just such a brilliant movie, and it was so well done, and it's a great interpretation of the novel. And I don't, not to take away anything from Scott or Luca, I'm sure they're a great filmmaker and a great writer, But this movie has been done perfectly from the adaptation of the novel, and you shouldn't fuck with
Exactly.
it. They tried to do an American Psycho 2 and do it from a female point of view with Mia Kunis. Oh my god, it was fucking awful. It was awful. Nobody fucking this is one you just should not touch it's hard to get a book adaptation right to begin with, but they did. And it hits, it's when you watch it finally, you'll see what I'm talking about. This movie is insane, but it captivates you, and everything you're watching you shouldn't want to watch, but you can't take your eyes off of it. It's just amazing. So I was disappointed when I saw this headline, and I knew we had to throw it in here because I wanted to say I think this is and Lionsgate's been doing really well. They've been doing, they've been hitting pretty good lately. They've been making smart decisions with what they've been doing. But this is a miss. In my opinion, this is a miss. I just don't think this is one of those that they should touch. And
Yeah.
hopefully they prove me wrong, but I don't think so. And who are you going to get, by the way, to match Christian Bale's performance? Like, you can't. In my opinion, if they're going to do it, it has to be so radically a different interpretation, because it's going to be hard for anybody who has seen the original to watch this and not make the comparison. You're going to hold him up as the guy. And so if it's just not so totally radically different in the interpretation, it just won't work.
Yeah.
And then
I completely agree.
That's the risk, right? If it is so totally different in representation of how the character is, then that might not work either. That's the big risk, right? You change him so drastically from how Christian Bale played him, it either works or it misses horribly. And my bet is it's going to miss horribly. That's just me.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild, man, because you have so much high expectation on it. And I mean, Christian Bale really is, I would say, the 2000 to 2020, like that 20-year gap right there. I would say he's that era's Daniel Day-Lewis. He's so method. He's so like on top of it with weight, with performance, and to get somebody to get into that role who takes it as seriously as him, I think is going to be very challenging.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yep. Agreed.
Netflix, they are talking about trying to get back to normal. That's all we're really all trying to do, right? Get back to normal. We're still about, I would say, 2020 to 2021, end of 21, going in 22. Let's just say the 2 years, 2020 to 2022. COVID, right? That is COVID peak time, and everybody is all up in the air. And then after that, in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry that we know and love, strikes happened.
Yep.
So right after COVID, movie theaters, entertainment industry, we're all trying to capitalize, get back on our game, get the ball rolling again. Boom, strikes happen. Writers and actors. Huge, 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 huge. That delayed it, what'd we say? Like
8
forever.
months. Yeah, 8 months, almost.
So almost a whole year.
Yeah, which, by the way, we want to clarify because we know, but maybe people not in the industry don't know. When it's shut down for 8 months to a year, that pushes everything at least 2 years out, because that process of being shut down for 8 months, that's stuff that would have appeared a year later. Right? So now you're talking about it's a year and a half to 2 years delayed from that 8 month shutdown, which is what hit. And that's where the problems started coming.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, Netflix just trying to get back to normalcy. And they're hoping for 2025, at least as close as possible to normalcy. They said after saying that the 2024 slate was a little bit patchier than normal, a little this, little that. Not as enough as usual due to the Hollywood strikes, and then the double down on the streamers' commitment to deal-making terms that have been very vital in the Netflix business model. And, I mean, their preference for select films for short theatrical runs or its original movies that go straight to streamer. Netflix covers the entire budget for production, plus it adds a 10% to 20% and sometimes even higher bonus to provide some profit for producers as well, so that creators feel like they have a skin in the game. And so, I mean, if you put all of that in perspective, what we just talked about, it kind of makes sense where the theatrical business is, where the streaming business is, because these films that are coming out in recent day time, they were supposed to come out, like you said, a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, marketing and strategy, it's so intense to where like phases happen, trends happen, things change so quickly because of social media, because with how society is so advanced nowadays, to the point where like maybe some of these projects are not hitting how they're supposed to because they're a year too late.
Right.
But you know, you already spent all of this money on it, so you still need to put it out there and get something back. The entertainment industry is in such an interesting place right now, just trying to figure it all out. So yeah, I mean, at least Netflix is coming out and saying this, though.
Yeah.
Accountability is freaking awesome. Okay. I love it when definitely in Hollywood, because I feel like a lot of Hollywood's motto and procedure is, you know, fake it until you make it, present a good front while it's burning in the back,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when an industry and when a big streaming juggernaut like Netflix comes out and says that, hey, we know it's not as good as what it once was. We're hoping to get it better. We're working on it. It's a process. That's what I love to see, the honesty about that. Now, just give us some viewership numbers and we'll be fine.
Right.
But we see what you're doing here. We appreciate it. But yeah, I love seeing this.
Yeah, no, totally. And I want to address the how they do the movie budgeting, because I'm seeing here.
Yeah, because I mean, Netflix is definitely different than every other company. I mean, we know that behind the scene office people, they do a whole bunch of different things that a lot of other studios and a
Right.
lot of other companies do or don't do. So I'm only imagining that the budget is different as well.
Yeah, a couple things like what you just said about things being so he mentioned in this. By the way, all this information is coming from their third quarter earnings call.
Yeah.
But he mentioned that Emily in Paris and Nobody Wants This were both supposed to come out last year. The current season of Emily in Paris and the first season of Nobody Wants It were supposed to be last year and got delayed. So thankfully, Emily in Paris has been a huge hit for them. I don't think anybody saw coming, but it's been huge. So they knew that was kind of safe. Even with the delay, they knew that one was going to be okay. But they were wondering about Nobody Wants This. It's like, it was supposed to be last year, and now we have all the problem with the Jewish back and forth, and will this even be... This could be a disaster coming out now. But it worked, and everybody loves it. But back to, as a filmmaker, it's your dream to see your film up on the big screen, right? That's just true. If you're a filmmaker and you're a film director, and I mean, that's the goal, right? Everybody... But this idea of how Netflix does it to where they do it and it goes straight to the streamer, or it might get like a week in the theaters or something like that, and a lot of these filmmakers are unhappy with it. I take it back to what we were talking about last week with Horizon, with Kevin Costner, and with Francis Ford Coppola with Megalopolis. Guys, those are like $200 million movies that are not going to make a profit. They are never going to see a profit. And both of those men put in their own money to try to get those things made, okay? Anytime that a movie goes straight to the theater, you are risking everything because there is no guarantee it will hit. Sometimes it'll be a box office smash, sometimes it won't. There are sometimes when it's a box office hit, but still doesn't clear profitability. So when Netflix says, we're going to pay for the entire budget, excuse me, whether you're giving us a $50 million film or you're giving us a $200 million film loaded with The Rock and all these A-list stars, right? We're going to give you the full production budget plus a 20% bonus so that you have some pocket money. Guys, if it's a $200 million budget that they're funding in full and then giving you 20%, that's $40 million that the filmmaker is getting in his pocket as a profit. The chances of you ever seeing a $40 million payback on a movie that's distributed into the theaters is slim to none. So, as a filmmaker, you have to weigh that. How important is it for you to see it up on the big screen? Or how important is it for you to get it in front of a massive audience and put $40 million in your pocket to make another movie? And you say you have, and Netflix I mean, like you said, they're honest. They're forthright. It's like, look, guys, we're going to pay for this whole thing and we're going to give you some money. And then you can make another one. Or you can put this thing and hope somebody will finance it for $200 million, and when it doesn't make any money, probably never make another movie. So, I'm kind of on the end of, give me the money, Netflix, let's go. I mean, because if you make the right type of movie, they're going to give it a limited theatrical release, right? And if it is so critically important for you to see it up on the big screen, fuck it. Just rent the theater and put it up there yourself and invite people over. It's all good. You can still get it up there. That's all I'm saying. So I just wanted, because like you said, this one's for the up and comers and for anybody trying to become a film director or a producer or a filmmaker. That is the much more viable business side of it. Anybody who knows how hard it is to try to raise the money to get a film made and then hope to God you make any money back on it, I'm just saying that you might want to look at the Netflix model. You might want to. I'm just saying.
Just saying, yeah, because they're not going anywhere, man. Netflix is going to be around for a very long time.
Oh, so without doubt.
It'll be interesting to see where everybody goes from here. And they also are the leaders of this, like, streaming wars that we talk about all the time. So it'll be interesting to see if other companies come out and say the same thing. So we'll see how that goes. But now we are going to jump to our top 5 segment. And this one is very interesting because we love this type of stuff, because we are going to be talking about top 5 favorite films that are based on real life historical events or different nitty-gritty situations that happen, like in news or drama, like murders. Obviously, that's a big one. People love murder porn. But you have a murder porn, kind of. But yeah, I'm excited to talk all about these films because they're all so good and they're all kind of niche films. For the time that they come out, they are very blockbuster. They are very mainstream. But once like the time fades, a lot of new generational people don't know about these films anymore. So it's good to refresh the minds to be like, let you know, hey, this stuff is based on real life events.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great freaking film. So I'm very excited to dive into this one. So I'm going to start off with number 5. And this one, it's so weird because I'll preface it like this. When I was in high school, freshman year, or even in junior high, I was like, as soon as I graduate high school, I'm packing all my stuff up and I'm just driving. I'm getting out of here. I don't care. Wanting to explore the world, explore the country, because there's so many different areas and cultures that you just don't know about. And this film really hit home for me. I'm talking about Into the Wind with what's his face? I actually have 3 of his freaking films on my list, which is hilarious. And I didn't even realize it until literally last night. Emil Hirsch.
There you go.
Name. This film is freaking fantastic because after graduating from Emory University, top student and athlete Christopher McCandles abandons his professions and possessions to give his entire $24,000 saving account to charity and then hitchhikes to Alaska to live in the wilderness. Now, my dreams were not that extreme. I was definitely not going to Alaska. But, I mean, it's so interesting because, kind of like the film, this was basically Nomadland before Nomadland.
Yeah.
On the same kind of scale. So just living off the land and meeting people and trading and getting back to where society is very basic, very odds and end, very, I help you, you help me type of thing. And people do this in real life and people are happier because of situations like this. But I mean, the amount of experiences that he goes through in this film are beautiful. He meets so many people, has so many stories, just trying to survive. Does it cost him his life? Yes, it does. Because of him trying to live off the land. One day in Alaska, he was eating berries and they were poisonous berries. So he died. And this is a real life story if you guys want to look into it. and I didn't even know this, that it was directed by Sean Penn. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful story. It's very warming. It's very moving. It makes you realize that, you hold yourself back. If you want to do something, do it. There you have responsibilities, you have things like that ground you as a person to where you feel like you're small. But if you plan things properly and not do things like abrasively,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want, go wherever you want, make as many experiences and laugh however much you want wherever you go. So that's why I love this film. So number 5 for me, Into the Wind.
Nice, nice. That's a great pick, man, and I love the explanation as to why it was important to you. I really love that. My number 5. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how this one slipped under my radar. This is one that I found on a streamer that I couldn't believe I missed in the theaters. I'm like, what the fuck? How did I not know about this movie?
Great cast.
Right? I'm talking about Zodiac. And guys, this is about the true life story of the Zodiac killer. And if you guys are unfamiliar with that, it's basically about a serial killer from like the late 60s to the early 80s. Was killing off people in the San Francisco region of California. And he would leave these very cryptic riddle type notes for detectives, basically telling him who he was the whole time, but nobody could figure it out. But he was laying it out like right there. Come and get me. Here's who I am. But they couldn't figure it out. And so this former journalist, who's now kind of like a washed up cartoonist, he basically gets involved and plays wannabe detective and starts helping the police figure out who this guy is. He's helping them interpret these clues. And yeah, this cast is like, this is how I can't. Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, Anthony Edwards, Brian Cox. I'm like, how the hell did I not know this movie existed? Now, this is another good one to exemplify what I was saying about Michael Keaton with Robert Downey Jr. This is prior to Iron Man, y'all, about a year and a half before Iron Man, okay? He was not at the top of his game still. He hadn't had his big comeback, but he was almost. He was settling in. This is a role where he understood he's not the star. He's not the guy. But this is a great supporting role where you barely see him in the movie, honestly, but his character is pivotal to the movie plot. And once you settle in, so that's what I'm saying. This is more or less a Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo star, right? But this is a brilliant one. And here's how I really this is why I love the movie, first of all, and how I was shocked I missed it. David Fincher directs it. This is David Fincher's type of movie in every which way possible. These suspenseful, dramatic, dialogue-driven, make-you-think movies. That's Fincher's, like that's his go-to, right? And so him directing this movie was just, I've got him on a couple of mine. I didn't even realize, but I'm a fan of Fincher. So if you have a chance and you haven't seen it, like I didn't, check this one out, Zodiac. It'll make you think. And if you hadn't heard the history of this serial killer, he was pretty sick. He was a pretty twisted individual. So it's a really cool story just to learn the history of. Like you said, if you're into true crime and murder shit, it's a good one.
It's a good one.
Zodiac, y'all. Zodiac.
I'm pretty sure they still haven't caught him or know his identity. There's so many theories about who
there's
that one
theories
is,
about whether the person they think it is was the right person or not. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff out there. I highly recommend it. And then, like I said, it makes you think. You'll be thinking about it the whole time. Like, do they have the right guy? Did they not have the right guy? Is this the yeah, you'll be thinking forever on it. And that's why I like it.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Well, my number 4 goes to Alpha Dog. I love this film. We've talked about it before. Another amazing cast because Emil Hirsch, Justin Timberlake, Bruce Willis, Anton Yelchin, Matthew Berry, and so many freaking others. I even think what's her face is in it. The crazy Amber Heard. I think Amber Heard is in it.
Yep.
But yeah, man, it was one of those movies that is a crazy freaking event because everybody knows I love stories about the underworld, and this was kind of loosely based around that, kind of like a mid-level how am I trying to say that? A middle-class underworld, or even a high middle-class underworld where, they're just selling a good amount of weed and like stuff like that, where it's really just white privileged kids who buy drugs and party
Mm-hmm.
on mommy and daddy's dime. But I mean, there is a situation where a buddy, two friends, like one has to pay back the drug dealer and he doesn't have the money for it. So the drug dealer kidnaps the guy's brother. And then the whole story is they don't know how to, approach this. They've never kidnapped anyone before. So they're like, let's just hang out with the guy. Let's just make it kind of like a ransom thing where we're threatening the guy that owes us money. We're actually just hanging out with the kid brother,
Yeah.
which is like very interesting because the kid brother was somebody who was kind of like a loner, a nerd type of thing, but he actually found a group of friends with the people who technically kidnapped him. So that was very interesting. But, people get caught up in so many different things to where, spoiler alert, they have to kill the kid brother.
Oh.
And, this is based on a true story. It's so freaking wild. It's such a good story, though. If you guys have time, be sure to check out the trailer for this thing because, like, I just remember it being such a hit for that time period. And just so many, people have talked about this film throughout the years and about how it was so underrated. Ben Foster's in it as well. Yeah, so many great people like started to be up and comers from this film, and I love to see that too because we talk about all the time how much we love Justin Timberlake's acting work, and this is another prime example of it because he's a phenomenal actor and he does amazing in this film. So yeah, my number 4, Alpha Dog.
Nice, nice. My list, you're going to see a theme here because anybody who knows me and has known me for a long time in my life or just even listening to these shows over the years, the three things that I really love the most aside from filmmaking are business, the law, and history. Those are my like three things, right? My whole list is based on these. We started off with kind of crime and murder, right? Kind of a thing. We're keeping with the law theme here. My next one is on the basis of sex. I wasn't even going to see this film. I hadn't really heard of it. I wasn't aware of it, which, again, I'm not sure why I wasn't. But it was recommended to me by a really dear friend, Stephanie, thank you. And she's like, you got to go see it. It's about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so it's the origin story, basically, of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's about her life. And it starts off in the 1950s with her in Harvard, which, by the way, she's one of the first women to ever get into Harvard law. And this basically starts off at the beginning of her career and how she's just a rule breaker and a steamrolls and makes it all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And this shows her battles and her historic monumental wins in court and taking on the system. But it comes at it from a way where not only are you looking at it from her legal accomplishments and everything that she did for women and what she was able to accomplish and change the game as far as the legal system it goes for women, but how she balanced it as a wife and a mother and these things because it shows it from the personal aspect. And I thought they did an absolutely brilliant job of highlighting who this woman was, not just as a legal scholar and a legal giant, but who she was. And even if you lean the other way, I think this movie does a really good job of showing you why she thought the way she thought and presented her belief system the way she had it. And you can't watch this movie and not respect her and who she was as a human being. Because RBG got real popular real quick all of a sudden. She became like this thing. There's bobbleheads and all this. But this movie, if you really want to know really what she's all about and why she was the way she was and where she got to where she was, this movie I highly recommend. And it's Felicity Jones who plays her. I can't believe she didn't get an Oscar for it, honestly. She just was brilliant in this role. I love her anyway as an actress, but I was mind blown by it. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen whenever she was on it. Just captivated. Also has Justin Theroux, Sam Waterston, Kathy Bates. Just a phenomenal cast. But yeah, on the basis of sex, I highly recommend it. If you ever want to find out about RBG, just watch that movie, man. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, and you got a cannibal in there, so
Yeah, well,
it
yeah,
kind
I
of
tried
tells
not to
what.
mention him, but
Yeah,
just forget that part. Just forget
yeah,
that part.
it's fine. It's fine. Watch it and tell us who you think it is. That's the new game. Who's
Ruth
the
probably would have gone
cannibal?
after him in real life, if they,
Yeah,
yeah.
for real, for real. Number three for me goes to Bombshell. The crazy story that is the Fox News allegations and sexual misconducts that were happening at the news station or the news affiliate. It was crazy because I mean, there's so many talented women in this film, and they all do such an amazing job. Charlize Theron, Nicole Kidman, Margot Robbie, so many freaking others, and Allison Janney's in this thing.
Yep. Yep.
Britton, Kate McKinnon, Liv Holson, and I mean, on top of that, you have Mark Duplass, Malcolm McDowell, John Lithgow. So many freaking talented, amazing people. This is in the middle of the Me Too movement, and we know about all of the allegations that were happening around Fox, just Fox in general, the big umbrella that is. So to have this, it's kind of like a fictionalized telling because it's not, it's they never really wanted to identify the woman who was groped or come on to or harassed, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where fictionalized telling, but it seems like it could very well be a lot of facts in this thing.
Yep.
But it's a beautiful film. I loved every second of it. Like I said, the cast in this thing, they're freaking literally all A-listers. And Jay Roach, who directed this thing, Charles Randolph, who wrote it, did absolutely amazing. This thing, I think, should have been bigger than what it was
Agreed.
commercially and academically when it comes to the Oscars. But I think the only thing it got nominated for was like hair and makeup, which I mean makes sense because Charlize Theron looked amazing as Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
So this film is definitely worth the watch. It deals a lot with that, and be prepared because you do have a lot of that stuff happening. Still current day time and a lot of stuff obviously happening in the film because they're telling the story, but it's an amazing film. So number three for me, Bombshell.
Absolutely, and yeah, because he's in everything. Our buddy, our friend, the man, the myth, the legend, Spencer Garrett is in this film
He is
too
in
as
that as
Sean
well. Yep,
Hannity. So, and he looks like Sean Hannity. So kudos
he
to the hair
does.
and makeup people. But be able to check it out just for our buddy, man, for Spencer, because God bless him, he's in everything.
Right.
Number three for me, political junkie as I am, journalist, all that fun stuff, is probably the definitive film on the most famous, well-known, world-known political scandal in history, the Watergate
Yeah.
scandal. Who doesn't know it? Nixon's forced to resign, et cetera, et cetera. Well, this is the story of that. It's called All the President's Men. And in my opinion, and these two guys have had stellar film careers and a lot of awesome films, but this is probably, in my opinion, their best performances. And I'm talking about Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. And it's about, if you guys are unfamiliar with this, it's about Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, who are the journalists who, in association with Deep Throat, expose the Watergate tapes and the scandals and force the resignation of Richard Nixon. If you ever want to know the legit of how it all went down, how it was found out, how Bernstein and Woodward pulled off what they pulled off, and the collaboration with Deep Throat, who eventually spilled the beans. This is because there's a lot of hearsay rumors. There's a lot of fun with Deep Throat, right? But this movie legitimately shines on what actually happened. And it was in collaboration with Woodward and Bernstein, and they were heavily involved in this. It's just a brilliant look at history and how it all went down. It's a fair representation of legit journalism before it went off the rails, like in Bombshell. It's like, no, these were legit journalists doing their job, making things happen, and it was factual. They didn't print shit before they had facts, They had to go after Deep Throat and find out if this guy was full of shit or real and all this kind of... But if you want to know everything about the Watergate scandal and how it all went down, this is the movie. All the President's Men. It's an absolutely brilliant movie. Oscar worthy from start to finish, everything about it. I don't know what else I can say about it. It's the definitive look at Watergate. It's All the President's Men. And if you're a Hoffman and Redford fan, you gotta watch this movie. Like, you have to. It's like, you have to.
For sure, man. For sure. Number 2 for me goes to Lords of Dogtown. Now, this one came out in the mid-2000s, and it really follows a group of surfers in Venice Beach, California, who kind of not discover skateboarding, but who start to put skateboarding on the map, because out of this group of individuals, this group of men, they start their own brands such as Alpha and a couple of other skateboarding brands, to where they bring in people like Tony Hawk. They discover people who become like huge, epic, mainstream skateboard phenomenons. I think this film was great because it's really a time in the 70s where these kids are just trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. They know they love surfing. They know that they're getting into this new thing, skateboarding, and they're just having fun with it, creating whatever they can do. And they created the bowl ride, where people would break into the backyards of people's pools and drain their pools and skate their pools and things like that. And again, it goes back to an amazing freaking cast. Obviously, my boy, my favorite actor of all time, Heath Ledger, is in this thing. Emil Hirsch, this is his third and final one on the list. Johnny Knoxville's in this thing, John Robinson, Rebecca D. Mornay, and also Eldon Henson, old Foggy from Daredevil's in this thing too. So many freaking individuals. Michael Agnaro, who I probably said his last name wrong, but you know him from everything. But this is just a fun, loving film that I just feel like, it's a coming of age story, just boys becoming men, trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives, and it's freaking phenomenal. And I love that it was also directed by a female director, Catherine Hardwicke. When in that time period, not a lot of films were being directed by women. So yeah, it's a beautiful story. I remember renting it from the library when I was a kid to watch it. And my mom introduced me to this one, so it's freaking amazing. But yes, Lords of Dogtown.
Nice. That's a good choice. That's a really good choice. My number 2, it's another Fincher film. It's another heavily dialogue driven, and it's a stark look at where we're at in society today. Woo boy. This is the launch of what now we know as the beloved social media, where everybody's attached to their phones and never looks away or never looks up. The Social Network. This is the origin story, fictionalized or not, according to the creator of the Social Network there, Facebook, Zuckerberg. He thinks it's all fiction, but apparently not all fiction, according to some people. I'm of course talking about the Social Network, and this is the look at how Facebook was formed and how it started, and the rise of Mark Zuckerberg and the betrayal of him and his friends of what he did to them, and how he booted them out basically from Facebook. This is just a brilliant character study. This is why I really like Fincher so much, because he dives deep into the characters. He makes you empathize and feel for, even when you want to hate Zuckerberg throughout this whole thing, you almost feel for him sometimes. It's like, and I think Fincher is one of the best at doing that, making you feel empathy for characters that you want to hate, because he just dives so well into the character study of them. And this is, again, another brilliant cast. If you guys don't know, it's Jesse Eisenberg, obviously, Andrew Garfield, Rooney Mara, Justin Timberlake, the Cannibal, again, is in it, and kind of pivotal role in this one too, the Cannibal. Yeah, it's I will say this, and I won't say the cannibal by name, but it's one of the first times they used the digital technology to put a face on another actor. We see it all the time now, like when, in Fast and Furious, when Paul Walker died, they used his brother who was similar in size and they put his face. This was one of the first movies to use that technology to pull that off. And yeah, it was amazing. It's like, wait, what? Yeah. But anyway, if you guys want to know, get a really stark look at how Facebook was formed and how it went down and how Sean Parker was Napster Sean Parker, how he was involved in it. In fact, it wouldn't be called Facebook without Sean Parker. What am I talking about? Watch the movie. I will say this, and you've heard me reference this on this podcast before. It is one of the greatest, in my opinion, opening scenes in cinematic history, and how it holds you, because it's not an opening action sequence. There's no explosions. There's nothing going on. It is literally a 10-minute conversation between Jesse Eisenberg and Rooney Mara sitting at a table in a restaurant having a discussion. 10 straight minutes of dialogue, and yet you can't take your eyes off the screen. You are captivated by everything that they are saying and doing. That is brilliant. Not many directors or storytellers can pull that off, and yet, there you go. Most people get up and walk out of a movie if the first 10 minutes is dialogue and they can't get into it, right? They're like, what the fuck? I'm bored. I'm getting out of here. No. This movie locks you in the first 10 minutes, and you're all in on it, and it's just... yeah, it's brilliant. So my number 2, The Social Network.
The Social Network. Yes.
AKA so Facebook.
Funny. Yeah, exactly. Well, my number 1, I've talked about this so many times, and so I'll keep it nice, short, and sweet. It's Jordan Belfort, AKA Leonardo DiCaprio, Martin Scorsese, John Bernthal, Jonah Hill, so many others, Margot Robbie, in Wolf of Wall Street. I freaking love this film just because it's a good time. It's a good time.
It is.
It's like drugs, sex, alcohol, partying. Like, it's just a really good time. So it's nice to live vicariously through films and through things like that without obviously getting involved in that type of stuff. So that's why I think it's freaking hilarious. And I mean, anytime you have a film where it's like getting over on the government, getting over on, the bigger than life people, I think that's always fun. That's why the Oceans movies are always so fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about this film. It's definitely in my top 5 of all time. Wolf of Wall Street, man.
There you go.
My number 1.
My number 1 was almost Wall Street. And I hesitated because Wall Street is based on real life events, but not a real person. Gecko is an amalgam of different people, but it was real life events of what was happening in the 80s and how Wall Street and all that kind of. So I was like, nah. But I just had this thing in the back of my head. I knew you were going to put it. And I'm like, I'm not going to put Wall Street because that motherfucker is going to put Wolf of Wall Street and I'm not going to do it. So my number 1 is, in my opinion, and come at me because he's a brilliant filmmaker and you could just have controversy after controversy after controversy of what his best film is. But in my opinion, this is director Steven Spielberg's best film. My number 1 is Schindler's List. And it's also, in my opinion, Liam Neeson's best film. Definitely has a particular set of skills in this one, if you will. But it's not the generic that you know Liam Neeson for, the same movie over and over and over. This was actually a phenomenal acting job and character piece about a real man, Schindler, who during World War II and the Holocaust was responsible for saving over 1,000 Jewish lives by taking on the Nazis. He basically was a guy who owned a factory, and in the midst of the Holocaust and finding out that Jews were being gathered up and executed, he somehow, and forgive me if my interpretation of this is wrong, guys, don't come at me. This is just my opinion of interpretation of what I view the movie as. He in a way manipulates the Nazis and convinces them that in order to keep profit coming for them, he needs a workforce in his warehouse and in his factory, and he convinces them to let these people work in his factory. And by doing so, he's funneling in these people, and without even realizing, he's saving their lives. He's saving their lives by hiding them out, basically, in his factory under the guise of they're needed to produce work, to produce profit for the Nazis. And in essence ends up saving, like I said, I think it's 1,100, 1,200 Jewish lives in that period. And it's one of the most historical, looks at the Holocaust and the efforts that were made to try to save people. And this man will forever be known for taking on that risk, because look, man, the second they find that out, right? The second you know what Schindler's up to, look the fuck out, right? This man was like, I don't know. And I don't want to go too far into it because I don't want to give away. I think that you really want to watch this film, because he saves these people from a concentration camp and slaughter in Auschwitz. And just watch it. It's a very powerful, moving film that I think is so relevant today. So relevant with what we're facing in the world today that I think everybody should watch this film. And after you watch this film, I highly recommend on Peacock watching The Tattooist of Auschwitz. Oh my God, just another stark look at how people survived those camps. The lucky ones that were able to survive those camps and weren't gassed or burnt to death. If Schindler's List and Tattooist of Auschwitz, they're hard to watch. I'm not going to lie. They are difficult to watch, but I think critically important to watch to understand what's going on still in today's world. So that's my number one, Schindler's List, man, and it's a brilliant one.
For sure, man. For sure. Both of our lists, all the films.
Right?
So
like, holy shit, man.
Be sure to check all of those out.
We should have a film festival.
Literally. No, literally. Please let us know what your favorite films based on real life events are. Please be sure to comment below in the YouTube comment section. Add us on Twitter, Threads, any of the good places. We love the fan interaction. It's always a whole lot of fun. Now we're heading over to the box office recap, where I predicted right.
Yes.
I predicted this film would be number one, which is crazy because it's like it's third installment in a franchise that really isn't like, it's a cult following.
Yeah.
Like the first one was kind of a bath at the box office. The second one, I guess, was okay. And then this one, I guess, even better. Number one at the box office last week was Terrifier 3. I think they're going to try to turn this into like a Saw type of franchise where they continue going down and down the line. It came in with $14.1 million, which is fantastic because, as we know, horror movies do not cost a lot of money.
No.
So they probably made a decent little chunk. So that's freaking fantastic.
Yeah, I think the budget I read is only $26 million, so they'll be profitable by the end of this weekend. They're good to go.
Exactly. The Wild Robot came in at number 2 with $14 million. Beetlejuice came in at number 3 with $7.3 million. And with an over 80% drop from its first week to second week, number 4 was Joker 2. Freaking crazy. Came in with $7 million, and Piece by Piece came in at number 5 with $3.8 million.
The largest drop in box office history. It's the largest drop in box office history. And congratulations, you did predict right by $100,000.
Yeah, right.
It was really close. You squeaked it in, but you got it. You were right for the number one movie by $100,000.
Oh, for sure, man. And I mean, new movies coming out this week. I think Smile 2 will take that number 1 spot.
Agreed.
They have not Nicolas Cage, Jack Nicholson's son in this, and he pays homage to his dad in this film, like from The Shining.
Yeah,
he has the same creepy smile. So I'm very excited to see that. I saw the first Smile, and it was a great horror film.
Loved it. Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see the second one as well. Good Rich is also coming out, Exhibiting Forgiveness, Rumors, and Honora. in
Yeah.
select theaters near you.
And Goodrich is that one I was telling. That's Keaton's. That's the one with
Yeah.
Michael Keaton. So
Okay.
yeah.
Fantastic. So now you guys know. Now you guys know. Movies you can still go see. We Live in a Time, The Apprentice, Transformers 1, Never Let Go, Speak No Evil, and a couple of other ones as well. Like we predicted as well, Saturday Night not doing well at the box office, even
Which
though it's
is
a phenomenal film.
I know I hate that because it's an Oscar contender. We both have said it, and I think we're right. It's going to get nominated. There's no way it doesn't. I
Yeah.
also want to plug that We Live in Time is the one with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. It's going wide this weekend. It's out already, but now it's going wide, so you can probably catch it in a theater. I hear that's a really good one too. So if anybody wants to try to check that one out, I hear that's a good one.
Yeah, it looks really good, man.
It
Looks
does.
really good. Well, we're heading over to the IMDb Pros top trending segment now. The top trending movie is Joker 2, obviously, with the box office bomb
Yep.
that is. Maybe next week our top 5 can be box office bombs, our biggest thoughts on box office bombs. Maybe we'll leave out Joker just because, obviously, but
Yeah.
maybe it can be our consideration of a box office bomb in the last 20 years, I guess.
That'd be a
I think
fun
that
one.
would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's been plenty of them.
there really has, man. There really has. Top trending TV show is still Monsters. I'm working my way through it. Episode 5, I think it is. It's 36 minutes. You should watch just episode 5 because I mean, it's freaking fantastic. It's literally the lawyer interviewing Eric Menendez, the younger brother, and he's talking about the sexual misconduct and the sexual abuse that he went through from his father and his brother the whole time. And it's just this shot just creeping in on him. You never see the lawyer's face, even though we know what she looks like, but it's just this shot starting real wide and then working its way in for
Yeah.
36 minutes.
Love
It's
it. Love
fantastic.
it.
Yeah, that's all you need to watch. And then, of course, the top trending star is Adam Brody. This is my favorite rom-com television half-hour series that I've seen in a long
Oh,
time.
same.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. It's really freaking good. And I love all the cast members, people popping up in and out. So I love it.
Oh yeah,
Man. I
Justine
freaking
Lupi,
love
the
it.
sister. I think the sister
Yeah.
and brother are as equally. I'd watch
Oh
an
yeah.
entire series just about them. Like,
them.
and I'm wondering, is the hookup gonna happen? Is it not gonna happen? I
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
But those two should do a show together. They should spin that
Yeah.
off because they are fucking hysterical. I mean, I don't want to
Agreed,
give too
man.
much away for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but they are just. They keep me in stitches the whole time, man.
I know, it's freaking hilarious. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 274 of VidCaf Podcast. We got to thank you one more time.
Yes.
Thank you for listening every single week. New listeners, thank you for joining us for the first time. And of course, we got to say, be sure to follow us on social media. The company is at Crazy Ant Media. We are filmmakers, so we got to promote that as well. We have a film in pre-production called The Lesson Plan, TLP Film. Be sure to follow that on Instagram and Threads. And then, of course, this podcast, where you can find on any podcast platform, ITCAF Podcast. So be sure to check that out. And then, of course, you can follow us both personally on social media, myself at J Logan Austin and
At Crazy Ant CEO.
that's right. And then I also forgot our mental health podcast as well. Everything's OKP. Be sure to check that out as well. We just had an episode drop last week, I believe, on mental wellness and the practices that we do every single day to try to make sure that we stay the best mentally healthy as possible. So that was a very fun episode.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I'm very excited about the next episode as well, which will be about life changes. So that's
Yes.
going to be very fun. And you guys know you can subscribe to this podcast, like I said, anywhere you listen to your podcast: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, and so much more. If you're watching this video on YouTube, but we appreciate you, hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for all the latest and greatest notifications coming out of Crazy Ant Media. And then, of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. Like I said earlier, we have a little bit of everything for a little bit of everyone. So be sure to check that out. 20% off right now in our shop. So please be sure to head over there and get things while supplies last.
Yes.
Man, oh man, it's been a freaking phenomenal episode, but I'm not going to lie to you. Prince Charming, talking about Prince Charming. That was probably my freaking favorite thing. That's such a funny concept, man.
It is. And I don't know. I'm going to say my favorite thing this time was Krypto. I'm just going to put this out there. I hope Funko makes a Krypto. The scraggly Krypto, because I would buy it and put it up, even just if they make a regular figure of him, I'm gonna display him. I'm all in on Rescue Pup Krypto. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. What you got this weekend? I gotta tell you, I'm gonna catch up on some shows throughout the week, and then I'm gonna jump on Lincoln Lawyer because the new season of Lincoln Lawyer debuted. And okay, y'all. This is how blessed we are, and I'm loving this. Guys, the TV season currently right now is filled with our friends and former guests of the show. Tracker is back, Fiona Renee, Found, Gabrielle Walsh and Shanola Hampton, Lincoln Lawyer, Rebecca Kennedy and Colleen Foy. All the shows that are on the Matlock with Jason Ritter and Sky P. Marshall. I'm loving seeing all of our friends and our guests on all these huge shows, man. It's like I can't watch anything and not see them. I'm so happy for all of them and all the success that they're having, and just thrilled to say that we're even a small part of being a part of their life in any kind of a way. It's an amazing thing, and it's awesome to watch. And so I'm thrilled to just sit down and kick back this weekend and watch all my friends killing it, man.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, tonight, if y'all don't know, we record these shows on Fridays. Friday nights are our rewind nights, where my wife and I try to find movies that we've seen before, and we go back and watch them. So it's her turn this week. I don't know if she's found something that she wants to watch yet, but I'm very excited about that. Those nights are always the best, being able to go back to memories and make new memories with films and things like that. So that's going to be very fun. Tomorrow, we're going to celebrate my brother's birthday, which was this past week. So that'll be very fun. And I'm also going to go try to see one of my classmates. He's got a band, so he's going to be performing on Saturday. So I'm very excited about that. And then Sunday, lazy day, man. Laundry, catching up on school stuff, and all the goodness. But It's been a fantastic episode. Like I said, we appreciate all of you. We love all of you. You're amazing. We cannot thank you enough for being with us for 274 freaking episodes, man. It's freaking awesome. And everybody knows we love the one, the only
Oprah!